Welcome to I'm From the Internet, a podcast about the internet, its users, and their consequences. I am disgraced comedian Winslow Dumaine, sitting here with internet historian Jay Brandstetter, and that is the first take of our new intro, because we are broadening our purview here away from just something awful to talk about the whole of the young internet. Not the whole with a W.
We're going to do a Goatsy
and
episode
I'm the
at some
W.
point, so we will be talking about the whole of the internet.
The Goatsy episode, Goatsy actually has really interesting ramifications for internet security, because it was so dominant to send Goatsy to people that it actually impacted legislation. I don't know if people know that, but I'm sure that we could find and interview the man behind Goatsy.
Yeah, Kirk Johnson has been interviewed, I think, a couple of times. Yeah, I know his name.
Boom! You just had that right out of the holster.
One thing, I'm not looking forward to this part of the research, but one thing I do want to do that is I want to see what people who are into Gape stuff think about Goatsy. Is he really hot to them? I was like, oh,
funny.
That's passe.
Yeah, dude, that's
he just put a 2-liter bottle in his ass. Oh, that's so 2000s.
Yeah, that's so funny. I don't know, because there's some crazy. I don't want to show my hand too much, but I have people in the biz that I know, and I've seen some of their work. Okay, here's the thing: when you have a lot of friends in the adult film industry or in just the escorting biz, I to be completely honest, mute a lot of their accounts, because I personally don't need to see pornography without a warning. I just don't like it when somebody tells me to be horny. I think that's one thing that really turns me off. When a movie or a TV show or whatever is just look at how sexy this person is. I'm like, shut up. Sexiness is something that surprises you. That's the thing. That's the thing that gets me, right?
Yeah, I think the way my friend Molly explained is, she says my account's too gooner pilled for Jay to follow me.
Okay. I am not like that at all. The internet constantly tries to throw e-girls at me, and I'm just shut up. I have no interest. They're beautiful young ladies, but the thing, the desire I have in me is not has nothing to do with I can't wait to have intercourse again. I am so deeply shattered inside that I'm just oh man, if you could just show me a place of a small quiet room, I'm that's way more appealing to me than some e-girl with cat ears or something like that. No offense to them. Please, via con Dios, ladies, have your fun. I have absolutely no problem with the e-girl or the sex worker community. I just I am so. How do I put it? This is a funny thing to talk about right out of the gate.
Yeah,
but I'm so deeply stressed and freaked out and sad over the past few months that sexuality and horniness and all that just doesn't occur to me at all. I'm just crushed inside. If you were to open me up, it would just be the sun bleached garbage that collects on the side of the highway. That's what's inside of me right now. So all of this to say, I've seen some colleagues who have done some pretty profound insertions, and I do wonder what they think of Goatsy. Maybe he is the goat. Maybe
putting the goat in Goatsy.
Yeah, or maybe it's just maybe Goatsy to them is how I look at Black Sabbath, where I'm yeah, I can definitely see the roots of the stuff that I like in there, but what I like is way more extreme. This is a great start, and there's definitely some vibes. If it's in a soundtrack, I'm not going to turn it off, and clearly it's very artistically impressive, but it's not exactly my vibe. And then I guess musically I would be into Oh God, whatever those big old dildos that put the eggs inside of you, ovipositors.
Yeah, that's the biological term.
Yeah,
Oviposition is when you lay an egg.
For the record, I'm not into ovipositors.
Yeah, usually they're into you.
Usually they would be into me. But musically, that would be. What I'm trying to say is I'm just into the heavier stuff these days. But all of that to say, we have a new flavor for the pod. We're doing more. It's kind of what we're doing on the Patreon. Which, if you are listening and you haven't already checked out our Patreon, what the fuck is wrong with you? It is $1, and we have just gobs of content.
We're coming up on 50 episodes. When Steve finishes editing the newest batch, that might push us over the edge.
Yeah, tons of stuff, and like they're basically it's just this again. But I've been told that our Patreon episodes are more fun and more raw than these in terms of like the things we're both willing to say to a paying audience rather to the internet at large. So yeah, check it out. It's only $1 and it's worth your time. So,
yeah, I never thought I would have multiple people tell me that me telling a personal story made them cry in a good way, but thanks to the Patreon, I've gotten to experience that. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, we get into some really interesting stuff. There's some pretty funny revelations about Jay, and I think that if you were to start from the beginning, you can kind of like track my downfall. You can kind of track my pieces of my collapse too. So, that's definitely something for future anthropologists. But yeah, what have you been up to, man? Before we get too deep into this,
pretty good. I've been things are pretty quiet around here at Club Fred. We're mostly just settling in for the cold seasons. We got the dog groomed. Hitomi, she's a little Pomeranian Chihuahua mix, so she's incredibly fluffy, and she needs to get groomed pretty regularly. So she really appreciated that. She is like the size of a loaf of bread. I can carry her like a football. She is so small.
That fits. You were saying you took her for a walk, and the wind is strong enough that it just kind of makes her very aerodynamic, like it just whips her back.
Yeah, it just shapes her like a bullet shape when she's into the wind because she's so fluffy. And then when she walks against it, she's just like one of those guinea pigs with all the whorls in their fur. She's just all like a puffball.
Yeah, we love to see it. It makes me think of that tweet about there's some dogs coming out of Japan that don't even look like dogs. They're just so fucking weird shaped. Oh yeah, but I've been hard at work on the new game. Real heads know what it's going to be called, but for everybody else, it's called right now Project Zersetzung. And I'm, talking a lot more openly about that on the Discord, but working on that, doing a lot of research, writing down some new things, buying equipment to make the new project, and for the Kickstarter for The Restless, which you can still get a copy on my website. I have spent, the past 3-4 days hand signing and bagging 2,200 prints of all of the prints that are going out to the people that backed the game. So it was a fucking nightmare.
So that's why your arm's in a sling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just finished signing 2,200 prints, and boy, are my arms tired. Whatever. Okay. Life's a nightmare, folks, but we're here to make you laugh and have some fun. I'm looking at a little cartoon dog, and I'm curious as to what Jay has in store for old Uncle Winslow today.
Yeah, well, today we're talking about Home of the Underdogs, and that picture is its mascot, Space Dog, which was a little piece of stock art they licensed for it. This is going to be a Person Who Rules episode, and it's also a real underdog story fitting the name, so I'm really excited to share this with you.
Yeah, I was curious as to what we're... I don't know anything about Home of the Underdogs at all. Never heard of it. First time.
Awesome. Cool.
What's the Trump quote that you're telling me about this for the first time? But yeah. Take
I
it
guess
away.
sort of my lead in is, I guess, for Winslow is like, when you were growing up, was there ever an old video game that you really wanted to play but you couldn't get a hold of because it was old and it was like out of print or they just didn't sell it anymore?
Uh, I wouldn't say that it was because it was old, but I was always broke as fuck, and the idea of like going the extra mile to like request a game or to try to find it on eBay, like that never occurred to me, or I didn't have the money or the power to do it. And so like I really wanted to play Castlevania Symphony of the Night, but I could never get my hands on it. I'm sure there's some 40-year-old fucks hearing me describe that as an old game. But it was I was born in 91. So
it was last century. It counts as an old game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In the previous millennia. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think, but yeah, I just kind of had what I had. And then I remember one Christmas, my brother for Christmas got me a modded PlayStation 1 with like this stack of like 200 games.
Oh, that's such a good gift.
It was a great gift, but like basically nothing was labeled and I didn't know what anything was. And a lot of it was in Japanese. And so I like fired it up and I was like, I don't know the first thing about any of this. So like it all just kind of bounced. I don't wonder where those went, but yeah, it all just kind of bounced off of me. So
that's actually a pretty good sort of foreshadowing what this is sort of about. Yeah, because I guess my personal experience with that is sort of the lead into this was I have it here. So in 1994, the film critic Roger Ebert wrote his only video game review. You know, later in his life, he kind of gamers got mad at him because he said that games weren't as good as movies, as art or whatever. But this was way before that. In the mid 90s, he just did a review of a CD-ROM game for Wired magazine called Cosmology of Kyoto. And I didn't read it till the early 2000s, but his review makes it sound awesome. And I have an excerpt of it here. He says, "The richness is almost overwhelming. There is the sense that the resources of this game are limitless and that no two players would have the same experience. I have been exploring the ancient city in spare moments for 2 weeks now and doubt that I have even begun to scratch the surface. This is the most beguiling computer game I have ever encountered, a seamless blend of information, adventure, humor, and imagination. The gruesome side by side with the divine. In this medieval Kyoto, people exist alongside ghosts, demons, and goblins. On my travels, I have met and interacted with a dog eating entrails, long-winded old farts, tradespeople who offered me medicine, dried fish, cloth, rice cakes, amulets, and a chance to lose money on a cockfight, a monk leading a prayer meeting, kids playing ball in the streets, one is beheaded by a passerby, a friendly guide dog, a maiden with an obscenely phallic tongue, and a gambler who taught me a dice game. There is a sense, illusory but seductive, that one could wander this world indefinitely. This is a wonderful game." And like, yeah, that's a heck of an endorsement from somebody who's an established critic. And if you look up the game, it does look really interesting for a 1994 CD-ROM game. It was made in Japan, and it's like modeling the art style of like the 1000s era of Japan.
That's wild. Yeah, the art style. It's a very very retro game design. So it's like the top half of the screen is the art, and then the bottom half is where like your text and your
lots of dithering.
Yeah, lots of dithering, a lot where your text would go, and like the characters look like hideous clay models, but they're also the very exaggerated, like 1000 designs from Japan that are like really exaggerated.
Yeah, like the big frowns.
Big frowns and like very sphinx-like faces where like sometimes it is hard to gather. It's like an exaggerated construction of a face that does not read any specific emotion. Yeah, very interesting thing going on here. They almost remind me of Commedia dell'arte masks.
Yeah, you're right. Or
they're
kabuki
so
masks.
dramatic.
Yeah. So exaggerated.
Yeah, or kabuki, that's right. Yeah.
And so I read that, and I was like, yeah, I want to play this game, but, I was shit out of luck, because first off, this was physical distribution. This was pre-Steam. There were like maybe a few small places where you could download it, but that really wasn't a thing. Like when I was a kid, I had to physically call video game stores and ask if they had something in stock, like to get my parents to take me there. You had to like do office work if you wanted to buy a video game.
I remember one Christmas, my mom got me the expansion to Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, and I was stoked out of my mind to play it, and I installed it, and it was the Polish version, so it wouldn't work on my computer, and my mom was so fucking mad at the eBay listing, because they're like, at nowhere on this eBay listing did you mention that this game that is completely in English, the cover, everything is in English, you didn't mention that this was for the Polish version of the game. And I eventually got it. No, I think I eventually pirated it. And that was one of the first times I got a computer virus. So, yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So it's not on Steam. You really have to, like, try to find it. And this is probably before you were ripping a ROM.
Yeah, exactly. Just to get a copy of it, it was a small run that didn't sell well. It was from Japan, so there's a language barrier if you want to look up anything about it. And article, the review that he did, this was old enough that it listed a phone number and fax number you could use to order a copy of the game, but those are long gone. And there is eBay,
Right.
But if you're a teenager, you don't have a credit card, and your parents probably don't trust the internet or you to buy stuff on it at this time. And even if you want to pirate it, piracy was a lot more complicated and scattershot. Like, BitTorrent wasn't created until 2001, and at this point, people were still making special pirated versions where they like rip out the cutscenes and the sound effects and everything because they were downloading over dial-up and every megabyte counted.
Did Napster or Kazaa or any of those like P2P file sharing things, did they have a maximum file size?
They didn't. You could swap like programs and files on there, and I know a lot of people did download pirated games off of like Kazaa and Napster, but also there was no curation or moderation, so that's how everyone always got viruses or you get like the Weird Al parodies that aren't Weird Al.
Yeah, you're trying to download Photoshop and it says like 12-year-old Weird Al parody. It's like, whoa, hold on. What are these other clicks you're trying to get here?
I was shit out of luck until I found a website called Home of the Underdogs, which miraculously featured Cosmology of Kyoto for download in full for free, along with a write-up about its quality and historical impact. And we can see right here, it has screenshots. It has here uploaded by Underdogs, rating 9.06, and they give you a little description of it. This was very cool to me. And as I looked through, I found more and more and more games, and an entire generation of PC gamers, including me, were lucky enough to get to enjoy some of the best of the previous generation's PC games with curation and commentary without having to pay a dime. And this has a bit of a legacy. Games like System Shock 2 sold very poorly, but were huge downloads on Home of the Underdogs and basically became classics in the genre because people had another chance to appreciate them. Like by that point, the company that made it had folded and it wouldn't have gotten a re-release.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first found you can get a ROM of Silent Hill 1 that works as an EXE on your computer.
Oh, cool.
Which I was just like, yeah, they must have done something to it to make it work. I mean, like it ran like shit, but like mapping a physical controller onto a keyboard and mouse sucks. I remember that it wasn't even mouse. It was just keyboard, from what I recall, which is a nightmare to control. But yeah, I remember being really surprised by that. Like all of the stuff of emulation or decompiling is just so fascinating to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so this website had a huge impact on me. Like I had almost an entire summer vacation where a lot of what I did was play games I downloaded on Home of the Underdogs. And it's all thanks to this woman, Serini Achavantakul. So she's kind of the hero of today's episode because she's the woman who created Home of the Underdogs.
Thanks, Serini.
Yep.
Looking, she's a lovely woman standing in front of some enormous palm fronds or whatever those plants are, like the giant leaf plants that they see in the jungle exhibit in the zoo. But yeah, I don't know.
And she's from Thailand, which is why she's in front of those big palms. Thailand is, an island with a lot of growth on it and everything. And in the current day, she's a figure in Thailand's journalism and banking worlds. I dug up her LinkedIn.
Interesting.
Her current title is a sustainable business advocate. She's done a TEDx talk. It's in Thai, so I can't understand it, but it was neat to see that. And yeah, you wouldn't guess that she's a part of gaming history based on her current output because she seems like a pretty straightforward political activist. She's founded a couple NGOs. We'll talk about those at the end. But yeah, she is somebody who had a big impact on a specific generation of gaming. And that's what I was going to talk about, too, because, we've sort of lamented the fact that so much of our show has been pretty white and male. And I'm really excited. Like, this thing that was really important to me, it's someone from their country. I can finally talk about stuff like that.
Yeah, and it is like we've heard so much about how gaming has been used to radicalize young white male, everybody like that. Um, and what we have right now is the result of a lot of 16-year-old boys that have turned to the right, and like Milo Yiannopoulos gathering them all, like the Pied Piper he is, and using gaming to kind of curate a new right wing, right? And I want to say that there are other ways around it, because I know that there's a lot of um, the right wing being a populist movement and having a lot of it's easier to form a group with them, right? But gaming has also helped a lot of gay and trans, and everybody under the flag people discover more about themselves. And I'm sure there's like 10 million furries that figured out that they were a furry, and they really wanted to engage with the furry community through games. So I don't know. There's something to be said like about video games are as valid a culture as any other, and yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I just think that there's definitely there's more to say than just the bad news about video games.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
this is a good story about that. And her being from Thailand is actually an important part of this, because Thailand has a very strong game piracy scene because so few Western companies did official releases there back in the day. Kind of like how Russia and Brazil are, where there was no official
Mm-hmm.
releases, so just a huge piracy scene sprung up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I guess, well, it's speaking at least of Slavic games. Darkwood 2 was announced yesterday. I don't know
I
if you ever
saw Ice
played
Pick
Darkwood
Lodge is
1.
making it. I haven't played it, but I like
Yeah.
Ice Pick Lodge, so
What else has Ice Pick Lodge made?
they're the people who did Pathologic. They did The
Oh,
Void.
word.
Yeah, they do a bunch of weird art games. They're very fun. I mean, not fun, but that's why they're cool.
Yeah. Fun by how little fun they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's sick. I didn't know that that's who was behind it. That's crazy, because I could talk about it for an hour, but Darkwood 1, oh boy. Like a game after my own heart, relentlessly fucking brutal and bleak, and no comic character. Nobody who's like, so that just happened. The sun has turned into blood, and now a man with nails for eyes is picking at me. I'll check, please. Like that. That didn't happen at all. It's so fucking important. Yeah, no, I'm fucking stoked for that. You get a boat in this one. Uh, yeah, eat your heart out, Grand Theft Auto 6. I want to play as a Slav who's slowly dying in a forest full of fungus and dog-headed demons. That's all I got for that one. Let's
All
keep
right.
talking, buddy.
Cool, yeah. And so I have a quote from her about that experience. She goes, growing up in Bangkok meant that I was exposed to lots of different kinds of games through the early piracy scene, which vendors would sell copies of games on 5.25-inch floppies. That was the only way to get most games in those days, and I would have no idea at all which game was bestseller, which game wasn't outside Thailand. So she kind of had your experience. It was just like you go to the pirate market and there's all these discs, and you're like, well, I don't know if this is some best-selling game or if it's just like some weird, something that bombed because it's just a floppy that somebody wrote a label on. And it's kind of like a luck of
Yeah.
the draw.
Yeah. And that's kind of like why I have chosen the names of my two games, right? The Restless and the logo and the box for it, I think is just like in a world where the games are just like the adventures of Dr. Flopsy Parnassus and like the grand menagerie, like shut up. Like or it's just like Night of the Living Dead presents House of the Blood, or whatever the fuck, where it's like it's so much, but The Restless is so different from everything else that I've seen because it's not trying to wow you with its verbiage right out of the gate, right? And same thing with the box, where like every other box that I've seen is just like really priapistic and overwrought, and so that's why I do that. And of course, the next game is going to be even more unsettling. What I'm trying to say is that if you're just looking at a series of floppy disks with labels on them, you're going to find one that says Chrono Trigger, and you're going to go, what's this about? You know? And but if you see one that just says like Castle Time, you're going to be like, whatever. Your game is called Castle Time? Fuck you. That's so boring. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta admit, if I hear Chrono Trigger, I'd probably think it was a shooter and then be like, oh man, there's words in this game when I was a little kid.
Is it? I've never played it. I just figured that I legit only said that because I was like, well, Chrono Trigger. It's probably got guns and shit in it.
No, it's
not a shooter?
The guy who did Dragon Ball Z made the characters. It's like guys with spiky hair and swords fighting monsters.
There's not even guns? There's
one character with a gun. Like one of your friends is like a tech girl who has a sci-fi gun. But like, yeah, the Chrono Trigger trigger is in activate, not trigger is in fire a gun.
You're shitting me.
It's about a time machine. Yeah, it's about time travel. The Chrono Trigger is how you travel through time.
Okay, whatever, dude. Yeah, I mean that's like check out this game. It's called Big Breasts Express. It's about a chicken restaurant. Oh, come on. What the hell?
I mean, I like Chrono Trigger a lot, but yeah, the title is very, it is also the main character
very misleading.
Is named Chrono without an H because they can only fit 5 characters for the name.
No shit. Yeah, oh my God. That's so funny. Guy that picks up a copy of Silent Hill is like, this thing's loud as hell. What the hell? I was trying to find a quiet game.
This just gets
I'm in a hole. Yeah, what the hell? I like that he slowly turns into a yoga. What the hell? I'm just trying to get some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. But that's funny. I didn't know that Chrono Trigger could only fit 5 letters.
Yeah, everyone is 5 letters. Chrono, Luca, Marl, it's all 5 letters or less.
No shit. That's so funny. Because I don't know if you know, but when Pizza Hut became Pizza Hut, they could afford the letters for pizza and they could afford 3 more letters. So they went with Pizza Hut. And there's so, like, it just, every time I hear that story, I'm just like, there's got to be so many funny things that they went through. You know, like, call their store just The Pizza. Pizza Man, sure. You know, Pizza Hut, Pizza Bug. I don't know. There's just, I love the idea. There's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah, the family of siblings, each one chose a different 3-letter word, and only the Pizza Hut one was successful.
Yeah.
Pizza Orb is moldering his obscurity.
Yeah. Pizza Bro. Yeah.
And then the way that Serini sort of got set on this journey, I have a quote from her. She goes, at the time, I was an MBA grad student at New York University. I went back to the States in August to do an MBA, and then I think it all started when I wanted to find a copy of Sword of the Samurai, an old Microprose game, and I actually couldn't find a copy of it anywhere. Because this was released in 1989, and this was happening in 1998, so it was 9 years old, and Microprose wasn't selling it anymore. She called them up, and also, coincidentally, her thing was also a game about Japan that drove her to all this, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so she's trying to find a copy of it on the internet, and eventually she finds the Abandonware ring. And this is where we get to talk about abandonware. So what abandonware is, I have from the Abandonware Rings FAQ. They say abandonware is defined as any PC, Mac, Amiga, Commodore 64, or Apple game, to really date when this was written, that is at least 5 years old, not being sold or supported by the company that produced it or by any other company. When a certain piece of abandonware is later found to be sold or supported by a company, then it ceases to be abandonware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not a legal term. Like, you can't legally do this. It's still considered software piracy under the law. But from like a pragmatic standpoint, it's considered, well, the people who made this aren't around anymore as an institution. They're not selling it. They can't really like have it, So it's like, what's the harm? If they don't want it, they can ask for it to be taken down. And that's why it's called abandonware. The people who are supposed to be shepherding it have abandoned it. So it's like, the idea is we're going to pirate it because if he wants to take it down, then sell it to us, please.
Yeah, we should do like a mini episode on all the different wares, like abandonware, bloatware, shovelware.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because I'm familiar with that. Yeah,
yeah, I could see that. Have not thesaurus, but like the codex entries where we talk about like certain terms. Yeah.
Yeah, just a dictionary of like modern internet terms would be funny. Like if Urban Dictionary wasn't just like, this is when you shit in a girl's pussy. It's like, shut up. Just like a word. It's like, give me an Urban Dictionary, but for like actual terms used by the internet. Like, define for me lo-fi. Like, as aesthetically, musically, what is lo-fi? Yeah. But no, I'm familiar with abandonware because every once in a while you'll hear about a company just like rising up to like crush a 16-year-old who is trying to you know, sell something that they do not want to be sold. And there's so many great games that like Nintendo does this constantly. Where like, please, for the love of God, I want to play the game that you guys have worked so hard on. I will pay you $20 for a like 2-decade-old game. Please, I want to play Wario Land 4 that you put out on the Game Boy Advance. And they will be like, no. And if you find any way to access this ROM, we will cut the eyelids off of your face, you fucking monsters. And I don't know why. I like Bloodborne, man. Sony could like, they could just put any update for it out. There's tens of millions of dollars waiting to be had, and they're just like, no. We would rather release Horizon Zero Dawn 6. You know, I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And I guess one thing about abandonware, like, it is an ideological position. One of its earliest proponents was Jim Leonard, who's the guy who would go on to co-create Moby Games. So that sort of attitude of preservation is Moby Games is sort of an extension of that. Yeah, if you want to look up almost any game that existed, you can find information about it on there, even if you can't actually download it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an early instance of people saying that this stuff is important.
Yeah, exactly. You know? We'll sort of talk more about they have a literal manifesto, which we'll get to talk about in a bit. So, yeah.
Finally, a manifesto that is not covered in swastikas and baby blood.
A fun one.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Serini, looking for Sword of the Samurai, made her realize that a lot of the games that she liked and cared about weren't being represented on these abandonware sites. They were mostly like shooters, and she was more into like Infocom adventure games and strategy games. And so she was like, the games I like aren't being on here, and I want to kind of contribute to this community that helped me, so I'm going to make my own abandonware site. So on October 2nd, 1998, Serini, under the username Underdogs, launched Home of the Underdogs with about 30 games for download. And here's the original header, all the way with little animated GIF of a neon sign of a martini glass.
Dude, and it's like a very simple Gothic font with like a fire background. And I'm sorry, man, knowing that it's this like very successful adult woman named Serini making Home of the Underdogs is so charming to me. It's so cute to see this. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's really fun because you can imagine her like swishing her hair out of her face and putting on her fingerless gloves to type this. So, yeah, God.
Yeah, so she put it up, and it lasted less than a month before her host took it down for violating copyright. So she's still dedicated to this idea. So throughout 1999, the site keeps hopping from free host to free host as it gets taken down. And they rely on an IRC channel to kind of congregate the community that is building around this website because they don't have a steady home. It just keeps getting destroyed. So she's always doing backups, always making new ones. It's a very laborious process.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, like, to put, I guess, kind of a finer point on it, this is something that we've been talking about since episode 1, which is the internet used to be fewer people, and they all had, metaphorically, motorcycles that they could fix up. And so long as you could fix and clean and refill your motorcycle, you could go fucking anywhere and fast. And the more people wanted to get on the internet, they were like, well, I don't really want to fix up and clean and repair this motorcycle. Give me a car. And so we had like the early web 2.0. I just want the car. I don't want to have to do all this. I can't go as fast or as far, but I'll still be able to go to certain places. And now we're moving towards kind of mass transit where you can go down the blue line and go to these 10 websites. And then if you want to go anywhere else, you're going to have to walk. And so this woman had like an IRC channel, which raise your hand if you know how to put together an IRC channel right now. I guess you would just use a Discord now, but like she had this channel where she congregated with all of these different people to share these files, and she was on the run, and she did it without, I mean, as far as I know, without getting her shit wrecked by, you know, some lawyer fuck. I don't know. Like it's all of this to say she knew a lot of stuff, and she kept going after it and kept making new stuff, and I think that that's just really dope.
Yeah, it really is. And other people appreciate it too. By the end of 1999, the site had over 1 million hits and over 700 games were being hosted on it. So, like, to emphasize how many games that is, the then contemporaneous Nintendo 64 only had 388 titles released worldwide across its entire life. So she has almost twice as many games as the N64 in just a year. I mean, I know she didn't make them, but that's still impressive to gather that many games.
Yeah. And for the record, there's so much like technical history to this stuff, but like the N64 was very, very successful, obviously. And the N64 cartridge was one of the reasons why it was successful, but it was also one of the downfalls of the system, because the original PlayStation 1 had just the discs. And so anybody with a mod chip and anybody with a disc burner could, you know, it takes some work and some technical know-how, figure out how to play burned discs on the game. I'm pretty sure Technology Connections does a video about this, that for a while they considered making PlayStation discs like half a centimeter bigger than every other disc, just to be like, this is our proprietary disc, and you have to have a specific kind of machine to make these. But that would, like, you know, quintuple the production costs, right? So N64 was like, well, we're going to bypass all of this anti-piracy nonsense by, like, of course, anybody can burn a CD. We're not going to do a CD. That's a terrible idea. We're going to make an entire plastic cartridge. And so that meant that what Nintendo had to do was they were going to have a smaller selection of games, because like PlayStation had gobs of games, and the ones that we do allow are going to be only the very best, and because we have to run this huge manufacturing process to get this game into the hands of the consumer. And then you look at what came after that, the GameCube, which has its own fucked up little disc, and you know, like there's when I was a kid, I thought that Nintendo 64, the reason that they had the cart, like they did all this stuff with the weird controller and the weird cartridge, I thought all of that was just to look cool. But now I'm just like, oh, there's actually like all of these different weird tech specs that they had to work into, like how to dev these games and how to give people access to multiple controller types. And yeah, there's a good tech connection about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think that sucked about that was Nintendo 64 games were never cheap. Like, I think Parappa was only $30 at launch because it was on a disc, so it didn't cost very much. They could have cheaper games. But N64, it all cost a lot to make, so you had to pay the full price for everything.
Yeah, like, look back at the Toys R Us ads from when you were a kid, and you'll be like, fuck me, man. No wonder my mom didn't buy me any of this stuff. It was fucking expensive, man. It was so expensive.
Yeah, see why I went to Blockbuster instead.
Exactly. Yeah. God.
Yeah, and also 2000 is when they get their mascot here, the Space Dog. This is the original image I found here, not the more high-res one from the beginning. Yeah. And because the site is getting so popular, Serini starts recruiting other people from the IRC to help run the site and focus on individual genres that are blind spots for her. Like she's not really into racing games. We'll have a racing game guy to do racing games, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You know, delegating the work to help get more of it done.
Yeah, it's just funny how well she's doing this when like a kind of a largely similar job of running a website with a lot of different users was in the hands of Lotex, and boy howdy, we had different results from that. Lotax never had a TED Talk.
Yeah.
Lotax's TED Talk was getting his clock cleaned by Uwe Boll. Welcome to my TED Talk is the
It's called a
gums
TED
fall
Talk.
out of
That's
his
the sound
jaw.
he made when he hit the mat.
TED Talk. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and then they did a site redesign to what, if you visit Home of the Underdogs of the 2000s, this is what it looks like. It has like a purple and blue color scheme. These yellow, it's not doing the fire letters anymore. It's very, very colorful and cute. And they also added a forum around this time, because it was that era for forums. So I dug up just a screenshot of the conversations they were having there.
Yeah, Sim Ant. God, that's funny. That's a game that needs like a super modern reboot.
Oh, yeah. I see someone mention Jazz Jackrabbit too. I feel like because I'm me, I have to mention that the animator for that Dindo drill was a furry. He went on to make the game Dust Elysian Tale. So he's a pretty accomplished animator now, like indie guy. So
that's funny.
Very funny connection. Yeah.
Words will just kind of like fall into my head, and I will have to write them down because I've based like entire stories of some of the tarot stuff or some of the card game stuff just on like a couple words that have occurred to my head. And I had an idea for one, just a term called reverse Valhalla or like a reverse Elysian Fields, where it's just like, it's the place in the aftermath where all the cowards go. And so that's why in The Restless, there is kind of a reverse Valhalla of, if you were too much of a coward to devote your life to something, you are just kind of like trampled underfoot by a greater beast for the rest of your life.
I think one of those I like is opposite of a doctor.
Opposite of a doctor. God, that's so funny. I am the doctor of death, and I'm here to cure you of your life. Yes. Yes.
And also, one of these threads mentioned Battlecruiser 2.0, which is fun foreshadowing because I'm going to have to talk about Derek Smart at some point. He is a very fun internet gaming figure from this era. And he also ties into Star Citizen. Yeah, that's just how he looks. He looks like he's kind of modeling himself after Cisco. He has like that tightly cut haircut and the earrings.
No, what he looks like is if you opened up Mass Effect and you went over to the male Shepard model and then you just darkened the skin. And so he just looks like Black Commander Shepard from Mass Effect 1.
And he is a space game guy.
But then you gave him like the eyebrows so black they look like they were put on his face with MS Paint. I'm going to withhold making fun of him too much in case he is a good guy, but I imagine you don't end up with your face splotched onto a screen that says you are fat and worthless, I am Supreme Commander, without probably being a bad... Yeah, I'm looking at some of the other things this guy's posted. I'm going to assume that he's a bad guy.
You don't have to feel bad about making fun of him.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the part I mentioned earlier, they had what they called the Scratchware Manifesto. My friend Sean shouted this out, so I wanted to include it. And it's because the Home of the Underdogs had this very long anti-corporate manifesto, and it's pretty eye-rolly in parts. But I definitely get how, like, if you were a kid in the 90s, early 2000s who had never really been exposed to a critique of capitalism, it is pretty eye-opening because it mentions pretty basic stuff, but like some of the talking points on it are things that people still talk about now, like ballooning costs and team sizes in game dev, crunch time and mismanagement, emphasis on intellectual property over originality. Except back then, their idea of a big team was 30 people instead of like 300 or 1,000. But on one hand, it's kind of one of those people have always complained about this, but it's always been a problem. It's just gotten bigger.
I just like to think about like some guy who starts playing a guitar by a campfire, and then he sees a more popular guy with two guitars and two guys by a campfire, and he's like, God, they're doubling the size of the guitar by the campfire. It was perfectly fine when it was just me by a and then smash cut to him seeing Slipknot, where there's like 9 guys on stage, and he's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
We should have stopped it with 2 guys at the campfire. No, there's a guy playing a beer keg up there.
I guess music by the campfire is pay to win now. Oh, I can't afford 2 guitars. I'm out of luck.
Literally, they have a barcode on their face. They literally have a Woody Guthrie meeting the guys from Slipknot would be such a fucking funny thing, dude. This machine kills shareholders.
I do have a Slipknot story. My gifted school creative writing teacher was really smart and funny and cool. Like, one of the things she did was, one of our prompts was she showed us a Slipknot performance on Late Night with Conan O'Brien, but muted, and then had us write the opposite of what we thought the lyrics were. That was such a fun exercise.
That's so funny. Oh, man.
Yeah, shout out to Miss Bagby. She ruled. I'm
good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Did you ever see the Conan O'Brien thing where he told everybody he was going to have Slipknot on the show?
The Slipknots, yeah.
And then he has a bunch of guys with like big... he has guys going on stage with like cans of nuts and like, where the slip nuts? We're slipping on nuts. Where the slip nuts? And like they spill all these nuts all over the stage. Where the slip nuts? And that's the entire. It's like, fuck you. That's so stupid.
The follow-up was even better. It was so funny. They kept bringing it back as a recurring bit. And at one point, they actually had them open for Slipknot.
No shit, really?
Yeah, the crowd is just booing and throwing shit at them when these guys dressed up like a barbershop quartet come out like, where are the Slipknots? I was just like, boo! It was like when Andrew WK performed the Gathering of the Juggalos. Just
oh, fuck. I do, okay. That's so fucking funny. Manson just put on his stories, there's this creator on TikTok or whatever who does, like, it's this black guy that makes these like soul and funk remixes of modern songs, and he did a remix of The Beautiful People, but like a funk version, and it's really fucking good. And like Manson put it on his stories, and I was like, there's a different universe where Manson like lets this guy open for him playing like a very jazzy version of The Beautiful People. And I don't know, I like when a band is in on the joke, you know?
Yeah, so, I like when they can have fun. That's always good. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, the only other thing about the manifesto is I think they were kind of validated because the modern indie gaming market is basically what they envisioned Scratchware being. Like, the name comes from scratch, chump change, wares, and they say, why do we need Scratchware? We need them because they cost too much for most people. They talk about how games need to be cheaper, and basically they describe indie games like there should be $20 games that are made by smaller teams instead of everything being $50 by a big team. And the technology wasn't there for that to happen, but now we kind of do, and it does rule, especially now. Like, we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's so many AAA games that I've spent just, I bought the whole game and I played it once and then I put it down. And, like, yes, it was a terribly beautiful game, but, like, obviously, enjoyment is not measured in hours. It is measured in, like, how resonant the game is. I played Neo Scavenger for a handful of hours, but it stuck with me for so long, right? But then you can spend $10 and get The Binding of Isaac, or $3 and get Vampire Survivors, and just like if that's your kind of thing, it's just an unbelievable amount of time that you can put in it. If you like that kind of play.
Yeah, we're kind of in a post-scarcity environment when it comes to games. Like there are more games out there than you could play in a lifetime already, and there's more coming out all the time. It's like, yeah, I think that, it's leading to something. I'm hoping it's not going to be another crash, but it's not good. Also, this did feel timely to talk about because we're in the middle of the game industry trying to raise prices for the second time in a decade, and we just got to watch them walk that back with Outer Worlds 2 and Borderlands 4.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. Like, it's funny to mention that, like, the Nintendo 64 had 388 games. And, like, I think it was on Reddit, like, this year alone, 5,000 games were released to Steam. And 5,000 games were released to Steam and didn't make their $100 back of the cost that they have to pay to Steam to host their game, right?
Yeah.
So that's 5,000 titles, each one making less than $100 profit. And like, that's just so fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, because I actually looked up the Steam game release figures for this episode, doing some research. And one of the things about that was interesting is the chart. One of the things they broke down was a chart of how many releases each year, like how many reviews they have, like which ones have over 500, which ones have like over 100 or whatever. And the thing is that the amount of people, the amount of games that have those high good reviews remain constant, but the number of games that only have like 0 to 10 or 10 to 20 gets bigger and bigger every time. So it's like there's people only have so much gaming appetite in them. And it's like these good games existed for all that, and then people are just kind of throwing stuff out there, and it's like not getting discovered. So it's it's just not a good situation.
What we're doing now is we're trying to get the next everybody's trying to throw their hand to be the next Balatro. And I mean, Balatro being a poker based game with all of these insane things that you can do made it so that's already like an insanely infinite game, being poker. Then you have Vampire Survivors and the next, like, they're all just slot machines. They're just looking for games for streamers. And so that's why, like, all of the indie horror games are, like, super short with crazy jump scares, high intensity to make PewDiePie scream or whatever the fuck. And we're moving away. I mean, we're not moving away from anything because there's still people making very soulful, thoughtful games, but we're also, there's, in order to get big, you have to capture the attention of a streamer to get people to talk about it, and then maybe you go viral for a little bit, right? It's like in comedy where, like, if you want to succeed, you can make stadiums of people laugh, but if maybe a dozen bookers and Joe Rogan don't know about you, good luck. It's like sniping with a shotgun. You know, you have to aim really, really big in order to get anything, and then, like, your success is entirely dependent on whether or not a streamer likes your stuff.
Yeah, it's,
you know.
Yeah, it's, I don't have an answer for it. It sucks.
If we need interstitials between things that I say and things that we go back to the document, I'll just run my hands across my container of prosthetic legs and just go, and then just move on.
Sounds good.
Yes.
It's fun. Yeah. And so the year 2000 is when she gets a private host, and she has to pay over about $3,000 a month in hosting from the bandwidth of the downloads. She said that the site was hitting 35 gigabytes a day at this time, in dial-up era. Like, that is a lot of bandwidth. Yeah. And so this was the point where she started soliciting donations to offset the hosting costs, but she explicitly didn't try to make the website profitable. I had a quote from her. She goes, "I think it would be immoral to do that. If I really wanted to turn it into a money-making kind of site, I would really have to seriously email all of at least the game designers that sent me these emails and ask them their opinions about it, because that would be making money off of them." Like, that is one thing about this I think is very admirable too. Is he's very, like, this is not a piracy site. This is explicitly about, like, these games that aren't available, and, like, I'm not trying to make money off of this. That you know, because now when people do, like, when you ever go to, like, a ROM site, it's full of ads. You have to wait 30 seconds to download it while they play ads. Like, everything is ad driven. So this was very admirable.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the Internet Archive. They're not doing this to, like, have a piracy website to steal things from people. They're doing this because it's a library.
Yeah.
You know, because they want to keep a record of, like, the greatest invention in human history. Like, of course we do. It's data. That's the whole idea, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they go down, that is seriously going to impact this show's research abilities. Although I'm sure if it did go down, there'd be a backup eventually, but just try not to think about it. Although, speaking of negative stuff, the year 2000 is also when she starts getting the first of many cease and desist orders from the Interactive Digital Software Association, which has since rebranded as the Entertainment Software Association.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're the trade association for the video game industry. We talked a little bit about them in the Will Wright episodes. We don't have to go into the whole thing with them, but, like, you know, they're an industry lobbying group. They supported SOPA and PIPA. They currently oppose unions and right to repair. They're not the good guys, but it's an industry lobbying group. That's what they do. So it's not, like, particularly noteworthy, I guess.
They're just like regular Sturmwaffen. They're just regular assholes. Except
they just dress it up with, like, video games and like stock photos of smiling families. Yeah, but I say when I was researching, weirdly, one of the first times Grums made headlines as a rabble rouser was when the ESA was supporting SOPA and PIPA. He put together a petition to try and boycott E3 so they'd change it. It's very weird seeing those early days when it was like, oh yeah, that guy really went wrong. At one point, he was kind of onto something there. even if it was for the wrong reasons, probably.
Yeah, he's such a fucking pile.
God, yeah.
It's just like you can kind of tell there's some people who are raised being told that you can change the world. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. And they're just like, yes, I'm going to do this to harm people. And that's what he's been doing ever since. Yes, he was right. Stop ESA, boycott E3. Oh, that's great. Fuck him. But then if you look at every single thing he's ever done, he's the guy who, if there's a new video game coming out that has a female in it, he'll be like, oh, again with this woke bullcrap. Since when is Laura Croft a girl? You know.
The only ESA I want to see is an extremely sexy anime.
Yeah, exactly. He's the guy who was fired for stealing breast milk. He's a creepy fuck. Everything else I would say about him is legally actionable. But you should be slid off of a boat into a...
We can't own him more than life has, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah. Give it up to Airbagged for routinely hammering him with fucking gifs of him getting hit in the head with a hammer. So.
Yeah. And so the ESA became a problem because the individual developers or publishers these games might not be around or might not care about it, but the ESA represents the companies as a trade industry, so they would file these takedown notices on behalf of their members. And Serini says that there was this first wave of attempts to shut down abandonware websites between 99 and 2000s. First, they would send it to my host. So they wanted basically the host to, I guess, remove the account and remove the website. So that's why I think the support I got from the host is critical, because it was a normal commercial host and they would just delete it and not bother. So yeah, even back then, it was kind of like on YouTube now, where if you get a complaint, they just take it down without really caring or checking. But since you had a private host that, like, you know, was somebody you should do and trust her, they would just be like, all right, Serini, you got another one, and forward it to her.
I do like attempts to shut down abandoned websites between 99, which you've typed out as 99, and 2000, which you've typed out as 2000, which makes it sound like she's been doing this for a really long time. Makes me think like on a bottle of Kikkoman soy sauce, it says like, since 504. We've been making soy sauce since 50, like, you know, just an unbelievably long time.
Yeah. When she wants old games, she means old games.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, she's just, her original game that she pirated was just throwing rocks at stray cats. Like that.
Yeah, she was playing Nines Man Norse with the Vikings back in the day. Just traveling the world.
She just put out this new update for Hoop and Stick.
The old version of it before they added the stick.
Yeah, when it was just stick and square. Yeah. Yeah.
And also just because conceptually the free games are a threat to the games industry. We're kind of seeing that now, where people are retreating into retro and indie gaming because modern games suck and are too expensive. The fact when an alternative exists, it's a threat to them. So that's why they wanted to kind of try and nip that in the bud.
Right.
Yeah, and Serini continues. She goes, I always complied, but it's just funny that it's clear to me that in many cases they were using a bot or not being very careful. For example, one letter, which I think is a very funny letter, was asking me to remove a bunch of games. They listed a bunch of games and they all had the word Doom in the title. I guess because Doom was very popular at the time. But it's funny because I never hosted Doom and none of those games had anything to do with Doom. I mean, they were just some other games with Doom in the title. Some of them were fan-made versions of Doom. So clearly they weren't actually using people to go through the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like you're not hosting Doom, so we'll just take down everything you have that has Doom in the title. Stuff, very splattershot.
Yeah.
And so from 2000 to 2002, Serini graduates with her post-grad, and then she moves to Hong Kong to work as an investment banker. By the end of 2001, they had over 3,000 games hosted. That's more games than Steam released in its first 8 years. And I've dug up the little numbers here. Yeah, that's how I found that. Yeah. The first year, only 70 games came out on Steam. Such humble beginnings.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, and as the community is growing, now they have a webcomic, as was the style at the time. And of course, right at the top, we have a September 11th memorial, which webcomics love to do at this time.
Yeah. Man, she's just really like checking all the boxes, huh?
Yeah, she didn't do this. This was by Reverendo, who was one of the people, was a community member, but this was sort of like the quote unquote official webcomic of the site. And a lot of it was the cool dog mascot owning ISDA members with facts and logic. So we don't have to read all of them, but this one quote, I heard him like sort of telling off the ISDA agents. He goes, I probably respect games more than you do. Maybe you should read the FAQ, and just maybe you should read the FAQ as kind of like the masterstroke own on a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this is 2001 internet, all right.
What is it? RTFM? Read the fucking manual.
Let me Google that for you.
Yeah, problem exists between keyboard and chair or whatever. Yeah, there's some other one for like tech support bullshit.
Layer 7 failure or something. I don't know enough about computers to do those, but yeah.
Yeah.
And they had a spin-off site this time called the Macintosh Garden. It was an independent affiliate dedicated to Macintosh games. And so
I just like, I've been a PC guy my whole fucking life. Macintosh, their UI has just been like hideous. Just a repulsive, like it's the ugliest fucking UI I've ever seen. It's so clumsy, and like when I look at early Windows stuff, I'm like, yes, I can see the roots of something great. And when I look at Mac stuff, I'm like, I can just tell you that this game could not run fucking Pong, man. Or this computer here. It's just such a hideous piece of technology.
Yeah, I feel like Mac people are very, because Mac didn't get very many games, the games they do have, they're very proud of and protective of. So I get why they would have like a special dedicated thing to it. Like I guess like I don't have a problem with Macintosh as hardware or software, but like the stereotypes about it having weird fans is absolutely true. Like I remember once Retronauts did an episode on the Macintosh game series Marathon, and the Macintosh game expert they had on, one of his arguments was that Marathon was a more narrative game because Macintosh users are more creative. Like...
Yeah. No. Macs are for people who are just kind of dicking around. If you want to get work done, you buy an actual computer. At me in the comments, I do not fucking care.
Yeah,
throw rocks at me from your walled garden, where if your phone gets an update, it breaks your camera, and then they're like, sorry, it's $600 to fix this. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. And I guess another addition to the site is they started hosting game books. Did you ever read game books when you were growing up?
Now, are these defined? Because I read some of the StarCraft novels, and then, of course, I've read a lot of Horus Heresy. But that's like a different thing.
Well, not these aren't books that are based on games. These are game books. Game books are sort of like choose your own adventure books with even more complicated. Like they have inventory. Some of them you like roll a dice to determine the outcome of things. And they were like I read the one I have here, the Nintendo adventure books with Mario. That's one I read as a kid. And but there's a more grown up and serious version of it. Like there's a Zork one. People still make these. It's a very interesting niche that I don't have a lot of experience with.
Grown up and mature, like Zork. Yeah. No,
my buddy. I say things sometimes.
My buddy Scott, who's helping me make the next game, he used to just like when his parents would be at Barnes and Noble or whatever, he would just pull the game books, like the Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, just pull the books off the shelf and then just read them like a chapter book, because like there's something that happens when you read the rules to a game without playing it, where you're like, you can start to kind of like simulate effects in the game. You can simulate the flow of the game within your own head just by reading the rules. Because you can see all the little caveats that they add, and you can start to like imagine what it's like to play. But yeah, I guess I never read these in particular, no.
And so Serini, she moves back to Thailand in 2002. The site's community keeps growing, and they launch a blog called Denizen. So at this point, it's also sort of like a little news outlet. We have like some of the headlines like Obsolete Media Weekend, Al Lowe's humor site. Al Lowe's the guy who made Leisure Suit Larry. He was an early Sierra guy. And also one that was very good time capsules, they launched a site to host photos of community members. That was a thing before image hosting was common and cheap. Was sometimes websites would have special sections just for people to upload their pictures, because otherwise they wouldn't get to post them. And I like this. It's a great illustration of how young most of the user base was. Like look at these, look at this literal middle schooler it looks like among one of them.
Yeah, that's funny. It's just like yeah, they're just like fucking kids. Like one of these looks like he's like 12.
Yeah.
And then, you know, bottom right, that guy looks like he could be in her first year of college, maybe. But
yeah,
it's funny because oh, fuck yeah,
hell yeah.
dude.
Of course, there's a guy in corpse paint. Fucking cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
hang on. I mean, because this guy, I am embarrassing myself by not knowing. I'm actually unembarrassing myself by not knowing the corpse paint band that he's in right now. But it looks like the posters. He's got like a South Park poster or whatever, and then there's like, oh, he's got a poster for the band Korn. I can't quite tell who the bottom one is, but he kind of has a King Diamond look to him. Maybe it's definitely not like Mortis, and it's nothing like anything Mayhem or this could also be an Abath.
Do you know what that metal thing on his pinky is? I was curious about that.
Oh yeah, okay. So they're finger gauntlets. It's just like a triple point jointed ring that connects through and then gives you like this long pointy nail thing. And I can't remember an old buddy of mine saw some like white rapper in Omaha, and he just went out to the audience and he was like high-fiving people, and he just saw this guy with like a handful of razor nails, and he's just like, not you, and then high-fived everyone else.
Giving high five with the dog training gloves on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just some like evil ass gauntlet. Yeah.
And also, we do get a picture of a young Sereni at this time with one of the site users. So yeah, there she is. Just she looks like she made a lot of friends through this site. I'm glad. It seems she wouldn't exist without her.
Yeah, and like it's just, I mean, you don't need us to tell you, but like, she reminds me of that picture of the girl who made a Star Wars Starfighter cosplay in like the 80s, pre-internet, which meant that she just went to the movie a lot with a notebook and took notes and figured out how to make the cosplay herself because they didn't have any pictures of it sitting around and you couldn't just Google what it looks like. And it's there's a lot of internet nerd culture that is like, no, it's a boys club. It's just for boys. Star Wars has always been for boys. And then it's like, you look at the actual history of it, and the internet has always been for everyone, And so, yeah, it's just very cool to see her having such a significant role in such an important part of the internet. So,
and gaming is the same way too. Yeah, like I've said this before, I think, but if you look at old video game commercials for like the Atari or the ColecoVision, they feature families. It didn't become a boy thing until Nintendo because they were selling them as toys, and toys are very divided by gender. It's like, does it go in the blue aisle or the pink aisle? And that's when it's kind of started then. Yeah,
and that's why it's so funny to see like there's like the new bolt gun game you can play as a Sister of Battle. And it's a Warhammer thing, and so like finally you can play as a gal in the game. You're not Astartes, but you're still a like armored Joan of Arc badass warrior nun. And there's like grown men who are like hulking out about it, and they're literally posting things like, no girls out, no girls allowed. And it's just really funny, man. Like, it's the biggest losers on the planet. And then they found out that after loving and praising the new Space Marine, which ripped, if you're into, I mean, if you're into this kind of thing, hopefully you've already played it. The new Space Marine is insane. If you can play it on your computer, do it. If you can get it anywhere, get it. It rocks. And a lot of the storyline was written by a trans woman. They love the storyline. They love the game because it was based to play as a Space Marine kicking ass. And then they found out it was written by a trans woman. Now they're all like, actually, the storyline was the weakest part, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, oh my God, you guys are such fucking losers. Bunch of tourists, I say.
A fun one of those was when Gears of War 3 came out and it added the ability to play as female characters, and people were complaining that was unrealistic. You know, Gears of War, the game about guys the size of refrigerators that sound like they're gargling concrete fighting giant worms. That's the part that's unrealistic.
Yeah. It makes me think of, I had a tweet a million years ago where it's like, dudes on the internet love to say things like, biologically speaking, women would never be able to wield the Force. You know, it's the same thing. Just... It's Kelvin and Hobbes, get rid of slimy girls. It's the same dork ass bullshit for a million years.
Absolutely, yeah. And another cool thing with Sereni was that some game developers actually reached out to her with positive responses. She says, I got emails from guys like Tim Schafer. Chris Crawford also sent me an email basically thanking me, and John Romero. So, I mean, I got lots of emails from game designer legends. Yeah, Tim Schafer's the guy who made Psychonauts and a lot of LucasArts adventure games. Chris Crawford was like an early Atari guy. He left the industry in the 80s because he wanted to make more narrative-focused stuff. So he's a principled crank. He's a cool part of gaming history.
Yeah, that always makes me think of the episode from season 2 of Look Around You, where they're talking about gaming, and it's just like it's a comedy show, and so but it's set in the 80s or something like that, I want to say, and they have this game where you're a window washer, and it's just like it's you're just like making suds and washing windows, and it looks extremely simple. And they're asking this guy like, what do you think is the future of gaming? And he's just like, it's definitely like really emotionally driven narratives and romance. And he starts to cry. He's like, I'm so emotional just thinking about the emotional games that are going to be playing in the future. And they did that as a joke, but it's like, yeah, but like mouthwashing, Disco Elysium, Silent Hill, all like there's so many. There's so like, yes, obviously there's a glut of shooters, but like we've been making really emotionally driven games for a long time. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like even back in the 80s, they had the Infocom adventure games. Like I've never played it, but I know a lot of people say that A Mind Forever Voyaging is just like a good work of literary fiction, regardless of the form. So
yeah.
So now we're up to the end of 2003, and they have over 5,000 games on the site. But 2004 is when the size of the site starts to become a real problem. BitTorrent had become a thing at this point, so they added a BitTorrent download option to try and save on bandwidth. You know, that way it's being handled by users instead of the site. And also the site was being targeted by hackers, which became a problem. And so in 2005, the update started slowing down. Then in 2006, Sereni left investment banking to become a journalist, and she just didn't have the time to run Home of the Underdogs at the level of quality that she expected. I have this quote here about the last update. She says, what I tried to do was have some excitement. Every update would have maybe one very rare stuff that somebody sent me. And that took a lot of time. My last official post was that I needed help and if anyone wanted to help me with Wikifying the site. And so I thought of turning it into a kind of Wikipedia type thing where people would submit content in their own files. It would be a great idea because it's a collaborative effort and I didn't really have time, but it didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to see what happened was that there wasn't really a concrete like leadership in place. So what she did was she announced that the code and text of the Home of the Underdogs were under Creative Commons so other people could carry on her work. And then a half a dozen different Home of the Underdogs forks were launched by different people who had different ideas about where the site and community should go. So one of them, the Internet Archive does have a full copy of the original site hosted on it. And there's 3 different Home of the Underdogs, Attic of the Underdogs, Underdogged, and the Macintosh Garden, which is the only Home of the Underdogs affiliate that's still active today.
Really? Damn. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what happened when Manson USA went down. A lot of people fled to Knock Cabaret, then Nick Kushner died, and then, you know, that was also kind of like the death knell of the forums, and so now there's just a very pale version of it on Reddit that's mostly like new fans and not as many old heads. And then there, you know, everybody else is just on the skeleton of Facebook talking about stuff. But that's what happens is a bunch of other startups try. Maybe one of them does okay, and the rest just kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
And
also that of all those, homeoftheunderdogs.net is still up, and it captures the look and feel of the original site, but it doesn't have any hosted files on it. If you click on the download button, it takes you to a Google search of the game's title plus game download. That's how they got around not being able to...
Good, yeah, let me Google that for you, yeah.
God, yeah. And also, one of the other spinoffs, HOTUD.org, it lasted until 2014, but part of the reason why it shut down was because the Good Old Games, the company Good Old Games had been formed, and by that point, between them and piracy, they felt like they were redundant. They were like, this is being taken care of by people more qualified than us. And
Yeah.
although I was a bit to the Home of the Underdogs, one of the things they did do was they would sometimes crack and recompile games to run on modern systems, kind of like what GOG does. So that was something that they were doing back then as well, if it wasn't as professional.
I mean, like, what you can say about this is like, yes, it does sound kind of sad that this great resource is no longer being updated, but it's because it was so impactful that it actually is no longer as necessary. Because if I want to get these games, I can go on GOG. I can go on all sorts of different websites, and like obviously there's still tons that are likely missing, but like this went from being a kind of a small pursuit from one woman and like a little coterie of fans to being like a very big passionate thing where people are trying to find lost and missing media and hosting it for a long time. You know, she did the opposite of living long enough to see herself become the villain. She dipped out because she had done the thing. She had saved the day, and you know, it's a good. Welcome to the only story that we've ever done that did not end with us going. Yeah,
so I'm really enjoying these new episodes. It's fun to talk about people who made good decisions.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, they're not just like dead or in jail. Yeah.
I will say she does like GOG and Night Dive and is a fan of them, but she does have a critique that they have to focus on semi-recent games to have a chance of attracting gamers because they're a commercial enterprise. So they're always going to go for stuff that at least is somewhat recognizable or cult, whereas like truly obscure and forgotten stuff is never really going to get a Night Dive remaster, which is understandable because, yeah, it is business and has to make money.
It is, but like, so what legally happens if, let's say the guy that made Leisure Suit Larry, he dies, the company that owns the IP is completely dead and gone and bankrupt. And that game, is that just like up for grabs, or is it like, who would sue you? If a big company like GOG came around and said like, we're going to start selling this.
Well, I think selling it would be a little more complicated because if you don't own it, there is actually interesting. I can think of something analogous to that. The video game No One Lives Forever. It's like an old shooter that's very highly regarded, but it's never gotten remastered or re-released because who owns it is a big rights issue, and the people who own, and basically we don't know if Warner Brothers or somebody else owns it, and they don't care enough to figure it out. So somebody has like a remastered version for free you can download with the rationale that, well, if they issue a takedown, then we'll know who to bother about who owns it.
Yeah, I mean, what is that law of the internet is like the best way to find an answer on the internet is not to ask a question, but to answer it incorrectly and wait for somebody to correct you.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. And also, she did mention that a few people wrote her and said that they were inspired to become game designers because of the site. So, yeah, I mean, that's got to be really meaningful to someone who's been running this project for years. And when I was writing this, I can find all sorts of like relatively current and brand newer places talking about how like Home of the Underdogs is a legend. Articles are full of comments, people, talking about how it's touched a lot of lives.
Yeah, I mean, the first Kyle Kinane album that I had, I pirated. I eventually bought it, but so many games that have inspired me. I've pirated because I grew up broke out of my mind. I pay for it now, but I definitely couldn't at the start.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Now we get to even more fun stuff. We get Sereni's post Home of the Underdogs career. So Serini is the co-founder of Thai Publica, which is an active journalism outlet. It currently has 250,000 followers on Facebook.
Damn, girl.
This is a successful outlet. She also co-founded an NGO called the Foundation of Internet and Civic Culture, which was later named the Thai Netizen Network. And it's a nonprofit that advocates for digital rights and civil liberties. I pulled up one of the recent reports they've done, findings on internet censorship in Thailand. That's something they talk about a lot because Thailand is a monarchy, still has a monarchy. So the monarchy is always censoring and persecuting users. This is a demo. If you go to a website in Thailand that is blocked by them, you get this little pop-up telling you that this content has been suspended due to its illegal acts. So they have their internet's a little less free than other countries.
I know that this is a very Western thing to say, but every time I see Thai script written out, I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at here? It's just crazy.
I love Thai script. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah.
It just sucks that when in America, when you mention Thailand, people just think sex tourism. Because, it's a beautiful country with a lot of cool stuff in it. Also, I'm working on the Kratom episode, and it's kind of where Kratom comes from.
Oh, I just think of them putting peanuts in their food. That's all. I guess when I think of sex tourism, I don't know. I think that like that whole region probably has a lot of it. Not that I'd know. Not something I've been Googling.
Yeah, I'm doing all the asex tourism.
Yeah, asexual
it's
tourism.
Where you don't go to the brothels.
Yeah, the blue light district. Yeah, it's which is just a Kohl's.
It's just
that's a joke for me, you, and all the other old heads. Yeah.
In a quote from her about, she says, the internet is kind of relatively new in Thailand, and a lot of people, especially the old timers, think it's the source of all evil, in the sense that they see their kids on the computer all day long doing nothing else, and every time they ask their kids, they see porn websites, and they just see the internet as evil. So it's relatively easy for the public to kind of ignore this topic of freedom of speech. But because of those elements combined, when somebody gets in trouble over some posting on the internet, the vast majority of the public will just say, oh, he or she deserves it. So nobody talks about due process. So that's what we're trying to do. Cool. So,
interesting.
I mean, she seems to be doing a pretty good job with her work, just going off of the numbers. I can't really read them super well, but looking at it, it seems like a worthwhile goal. And it's really cool to see how much of a life she's built beyond this one thing, but how it's still something that she talks about and is proud of.
Yeah, go get him, girl. Proud of you.
Yeah, and at the end of her, she wrote a history of the Home of the Underdogs. At the end of it, she had this little passage I want to read. I think it's a very nice note to end on. She goes, I hope that, if nothing else, this page may serve as a reminder to everyone that every undertaking, however large or small, begins with a dream. It then takes a lot of patience, tenacity, and sometimes superhuman determination to see it through. Here's hoping that our little history may inspire someone to start a site dedicated to oldies and never give up. Cheers. And yeah, for me, that feels really good because I've kind of come full circle. And now I'm several years into my own little history project. Yeah. So it's like, that resonates with me a lot. I vibe with that.
Yeah, definitely. We're doing our little part to keep pieces of the internet alive despite it all. And shit, man.
And I have my closing thoughts are just, thankfully game preservation as a movement is bigger and better than it's ever been. Like, I know we talked about, but people like Frank Cifaldi at gamehistory.org have done a lot to legitimize that. And also they're fighting to try and change laws so that libraries can lend old games. That's sort of a legal movement that people have been getting behind now. So if this is something you're interested in, that's a way you can maybe look into it and contribute to it here in America.
Yeah, because there were just so fucking many. And like, I know that when you think of like old games, you just think of like this crunchy ass graphics and difficult to play, and it's like, yeah, for sure. But that's also, there's just so many interesting stories there and interesting ways that they figured things out. And I don't know. It's kind of like going from listening to like a band like Wormed and or like Anal Nathrak, and then going and listening to Black Sabbath, and you're like, oh, huh. There, like a trace of this exists in the most modern form, and you learn a lot about what's going on in modern gaming by going back to our roots. Like, why were shooters? Like, why did we make that? How did we figure that out? What was it like before 3D?
That's a big part of appreciating stuff. Like, when you watch old movies, like you watch Seven Samurai, and like, oh, that's why every action movie opens with them in the middle of some other thing, and then they get called into the new thing that invented it. Cool, it's neat to see where stuff comes from.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, get over what was it that the director of Parasite said?
Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, it was just like, there's like,
if you can get over the 1-inch barrier of subtitles, there's like a whole world of wonder waiting for you, something like that.
Yeah, exactly that. Where it's like, if you can just watch a movie with subtitles, you'll be okay. Just there's so many amazing stories that you don't know about. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And also, I think a great concrete example of how far game preservation has come was when Home of the Underdogs finished, they had about 8,000 games. Archive.org currently has over 23,000 MS-DOS games that you can play in your browser without downloading a thing. And that's just one type of game that they have. Like, yeah, you can go and just play old games in your browser now. So if you ever want to play Sword of the Samurai, you don't have to work as hard as Serini did to find it. You can just go on archive.org and download the floppy right now.
Huh. Yeah, and the floppy is 1.6 megabytes, which is so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about like the comparison between that and whatever the fuck we have going on now.
Yeah, that's like 5 JPEGs.
yeah, if that, that's, yeah. I mean, like what I downloaded an update to Stalker, and it was 20 gigs. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I got for you. And I just had a little conclusions page here if you wanted to talk about anything else.
Oh, no, man. I think this is great. It's a good story for a pretty miserable time. And this is a little bit of one good thing that the internet's doing, outside of all the other Nazi stuff.
Yeah, and also, because piracy became really decentralized, and that did make it harder to take down, but we did lose that sense of community and the ideological aspects of piracy because, now you can just go and get them. It's completely divorced from that. I think, the closest comparison to a modern Home of the Underdogs I can think of are ROM sites, and you're lucky if those have a rating feature or a comment section. There's not really any, community or curation at play. And, of course, there's ads. Yeah, you can subscribe to NordVPN.
Yeah, and just give all your data directly to Israel. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, just another thought I have is, we complain that young people don't know how to pirate stuff, but the places that we learn to pirate it from don't exist anymore. So, yeah, part of it is, that context changing. When I was a substitute teacher in the early 2010s, browser games were really popular with kids because modern school computers were so locked down you couldn't install stuff. So this is why, Happy Wheels and Cool Math games were really popular when they had free computer time because you can just run those anywhere. You don't have to go through all that. You don't have to deal with the technical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've already suggested everybody to play a Dark Room at least once. That was always a very fun one for me. But yeah, we have a little section that we do at the end of the pod where we give little recommendations. But before we get to that, as always, you can find us at iftipod@gmail.com. We're looking for listener responses to all sorts of stuff. If you have any stories about Kratom or Mark Mitsubishi, let us know. You can find us at iftipod@gmail.com or iftipod on Twitter. As for me, of course, you can still get my game. It's The Restless. It's on winslowdomain.com, Winslow Domain on Twitter, and Calculations on Instagram. And I do have a Discord where I am talking a bit more openly about the next game that I'm making, which is coming along a lot, even though it's slowly driving me insane. But that's also the rest of my life that's making me crazy. So that's me. But Jay, where can they find you?
I'm Jay Brandstetter on Blue Sky. I don't really have anything to plug right now. I'm just working on the show. And yeah, we are doing the listener responses. And you can respond to ones we've already done as well. And the next one we're doing is Eric Convasion of Motion. And also, if you have general questions for us, we might do a Patreon mailbag episode where we just kind of talk about that type of thing. So if you have questions, feel free to send them into the iftipod@gmail.com address. Just do one topic per response and include the topic in the email subject. That helps me organize them.
Yeah. And, I'll put up a thing on my stories and see if anybody gets any bites there. I'm sure that you and I can pick through those sometime soon. And that's it for us. But it looks like you have a little recommendation at the end of this. What do you want to talk about?
I'm late to this. I've been playing it with Fred because it went on sale. But Return of the Obra Dinn, I've really been enjoying it. Have you ever played it?
I have played a little bit of it. I am not good at puzzle games. I feel dumb. But it's aesthetically, it's brilliant. Like it's such a genius. Like the game, the beauty and simplicity of this game is just like unparalleled.
Yeah. It is funny that we were kind of dunking on Mac games earlier because the look it's trying to evoke is specifically the old black and white Apple computer look, which with the dithering and everything. But yeah, it is a beautiful looking game, and it's as someone I like puzzle games, but I find a lot of them frustrating. This one is so good at having like the interface that like it's so smooth, it handles everything. Like it's good at documenting stuff for you. Like you rarely feel lost, and also it makes you really curious about like ships. Like I am so not a tall ship guy, but this was making me read and be like, oh, huh. So that's why I couldn't find where they sleep. They put up their cots in the day. Interesting. Like they used to call Taiwan Formosa. I didn't know that. Like, yeah, it's actually a pretty educational experience.
Yeah.
Even though it's not it's what I imagine the terror must be like, kind of like where it looks like it's going to be like a grounded like thing, and it turns out that there's like more afoot, and it's pretty creepy and weird.
Oh, buddy, you got to read the terror. Oh, yeah. Fuck. I was on a dog shit comedy tour, and the one good thing that came out of it was the fact that I listened to the audiobook for the terror over the entirety of the drive across the United States. And it's gripping from page one. Like, it's just a story that starts in the most unforgivably bleak and hostile situation. A ship is locked in the ice. They have enough food to last for, I'm guessing, for 3 months. They're on month 9. They've taken down the crossbars of the ship, because if they hadn't, they would be so heavy with ice that they would fall and break the ship in half. It is negative 50 degrees and the sun hasn't risen for 2 weeks. That's where the story starts, and every page it gets worse. It's awesome. Highly recommend that one.
I guess I should describe what the game is about. The premise of Obra Dinn is that in the early 1800s, this ship washes up and like everyone on it is dead, and you're investigating it, and you have to figure out who, like your goal is to find all the bodies and figure out who they are and how they died. And you have a little magic stopwatch that lets you basically relive the moment of someone's death. And from that, you have to piece stuff together. And it starts off relatively straightforward, but you have to you actually do some thinking and deduction and stuff. Like, you know, like going. It's very cleverly designed. I don't want to spoil anything because it's really worth going through and figuring things out.
Yeah. You just have like a list of names, and then like a photograph, and then you'll just find like skeletons, and then you'll like one will be holding a gun, and it'll have maybe he'll have like some sort of bandana on his head, and then you'll look in a notebook somewhere, and it'll say like, I insulted his bandana and he tried to shoot me, and that's the last time I talked to old Salty Pete. And then you'll go like, okay, so the bandana and the gun, that's Salty Pete. And like you piece it together like that. But then they do all of these other twists where there's like just wild ways of connecting the dots that are really interesting. And yeah, if you like this, it's not nearly a similar game, but Papers, Please obviously is like, it's just a really incredibly beautiful, intense game. One of my favorite things was somebody played Papers, Please, where you play as a border guard of a like fascist Soviet state, and somebody was playing it, and they're just like, I like played it all correctly, and I kept all of the foreigners out, but it still gave me the ending where it made terrorism worse. Like, what did I do wrong? This is bullshit. I did it right. It's right up there with the people that play Disco Elysium. They're like, I answered all the questions truthfully, and it still calls me a fascist. What, the game's broken. Why does it think I'm a fascist? It's like, well, it's because you're probably a fascist. But yeah, I've just been picking at Vampire Survivors a little bit here and there between like the funeral fugue states that I've been in lately. I recently took one of every pill in my house. That was a fun night. Not fun at all, but it was a night. And then, God, I don't know. I've just been doing that, and I'll throw him a plug. He doesn't need it, but I've been watching some Northern Lion streams. He's just I've seen his name pop up for a while, and I've seen some of his like rants, and he is so fucking funny. He has this like, he's playing The Binding of Isaac while just like talking with his chat, and he's just like making these deep cut references to like Voltaire and like very fluidly quoting Shakespeare while playing you know, Binding of Isaac, and it's just he's just very, very funny. So yeah, big fan of his. But yeah, that's all for us for right now. I have to break away because I have an interview in not terribly long about the fate of the Chicago rat hole. And we will be back next week with even more. And we love you so much. Shoot us a like and subscribe. Give us a review. Blah, blah, blah. You know how it is. All right. Take care, guys. I'm From the Internet is created by jaybrandstetter and Wins the Domain. Edited by Steve Brown. Music by Steve Isbrook.